All right, so it's 4:25 and we can get started. If you guys want to come off camera, that's fine. If you don't, that's also fine. But I introduced myself a little before, but I'll do it again. So, hey everyone, I'm Kat. I'm a junior finance and MIS major, and it's week 5. Congratulations. Um, How are you guys feeling? So this session's like about burnout. You can react if you're feeling burnt out, or you can react if you're feeling like you're good to go. Um, but yeah, good to go. I am no. I see Veronica shaking her head. Some people are good to go. Well, if you're not good to go, that's why we're here today. Um, so I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see. Okay, and we're gonna go through these slides, and it will be great. So we're here. If you're a little burnt out, let's talk about it. So what is burnout? The technical definition is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive. Sorry, I need to like let everyone into the waiting room or from the waiting room. Okay. Caused by excessive and prolonged stress that occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So that can look different for everyone. It looked different for me. It'll probably look different for you. But how it looked like for me, I was very tired all the time. I was overwhelmed by just doing regular things like getting out of bed, going to my classes, and I was just like very miserable, I guess, overall. And so why was I burnt out? I honestly look back and I'm like, I don't know why I did this, but I was in my first semester of business school at Eller taking 21 units. I was in like multiple programs and I was trying to balance 3 part-time jobs. And so I thought I could be able to handle everything because I'm like, I love all of these things. I loved opportunities and like, why wouldn't I take it? If I enjoy it, like, it's going to be great, right? But the thing with burnout is that if you're taking too many things on for yourself, it turns even the things that you love to do into things that could be chores. So after a while of going through that, I was feeling miserable, trapped. I got really anxious, and that has both like short and long-term effects. But so I learned a lot of things from that experience, which was literally just like last semester, and I hope that I can share them all with you today. So what we're going to do is um I'm going the first 10 minutes or so I'm going to talk about like how to get out of burnout if you're currently in it, if you ever find yourself in it, as well as tips and advice to um, kind of get to prevent it or avoid it. Because if you can avoid it, like you don't want to get into it in the first place. So how to get out of and avoid burnout. Oops. Okay. The first thing is honestly to remove yourself from your environment or your situation. So I always did everything in the same place all the time because I was very comfortable with where everything was located at, and that place was my room for me. I didn't see the point. Everyone's like, you should try to go and study in the library or study at a cafe, and I'm like, that's I don't need to do that, right? But then the moments where I really took myself out of my room to go study in a study room or the library were moments where I like changed up my routine and honestly felt a little more refreshed. And that was because when you're going through the same thing and your brain like connects yourself with and associates it with one place, it's going
Really?
to, oh, Grace, did you want to say something?
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
it's okay. Oh, okay. I thought you had a question or something. But
I was just relating. I was like relating to what you said about removing yourself.
yeah, for sure. Like it feels so much better when you're just in a different place. And I also noticed that with like taking a few hours to go downtown or onto university, or maybe like carving out a day to take a trip over the weekend, you might be like, I'm burnt out and overwhelmed. There's no time for any of this. But honestly, if you take that time and challenge yourself to do those things, you'll come back feeling a lot more refreshed and have a mindset of like, I'm ready to go. And so, along with that, is setting boundaries between your work life or your like school work life and your personal life. It's really easy for me. I love to like, I think I'm being productive or efficient if I'm eating lunch and trying to study at the same time, but that's not healthy for your body, and it's also not going to help you retain information better. So just have clear boundaries. Like if you need to schedule in your lunchtime, make sure to do that. Um, a, Another tip to when you're in burnout and also before you get there is to look at the bigger picture. So see what your overall goal is and see if what you're doing is contributing to that. And that goes hand in hand too with like remove yourself from your failures. You might think what you're if you don't get a good grade on your test or your assignment, you are a failure, and that just makes you go down this rabbit hole of like I can't do something right, or everything I'm doing is like not turning out well. But put yourself in the position of like what you would tell your best friend and give yourself some leeway and be compassionate. So if you think, oh my gosh, I can barely get out of bed for my 8 a.m. class, no, like, good job. That's amazing. You actually put yourself out there and you, even though you're like still groggy, you're going to class and you're listening, and that's like so much better than just staying in bed. So you did a good thing. Don't be too hard on yourself. The next thing when you're in burnout is to examine your options and evaluate your priorities and goals. So back to like the story when I was taking on too many things. This is when you and going hand in hand with like looking at the bigger picture, take a step back and see what what really matters to you. What are your values? can you um can you maybe like, of course everyone has responsibilities and classes, you have to get your assignments in, but can you maybe drop a class and withdraw from one, and will you still be able to graduate on time or like at the time you want, right? If you can do that, then maybe it's not worth taking that one extra class. Or if you have multiple jobs, you could look at your budget and see, maybe can I like take like maybe like quit your job. I'm not saying to quit your job, but if you really need to and that makes your mental health a lot better, maybe it's worth it, like budgeting a little, but then also being a lot happier. And so the thing that I guess I wanted to draw it back to is like, for me, it was quality over quantity. That was my mindset or my value. And I also wanted to prioritize myself and my self care, and mental health. So definitely prioritize your self care before you even get to burnout. Pay attention to what your body needs. I know the stigma of like, oh, college students never sleep. We just study all the time and we like don't eat regular meals. That might be partially true, but try to get if you know you need sleep, like maybe go to sleep early and then wake up early to study for your test. or make sure to grab like a nutritious breakfast if that's what keeps you going for the day. Um, it's also good to set aside time in your schedule to be like, I know it's a Tuesday night and that's usually not a night for self-care, but I'm going to session that, put a self-care session in anyways because that's what I need right now because I'm not feeling good and I feel burnt out. So I'm just going to take the night off and like watch Netflix or something. And another thing is to invest in your happiness. So I do this by, this can look different for a lot of people, but I invest in my happiness by spending like $6 on a cup of boba, okay? And when people hear that, they're like, that's ridiculous, but that's what makes me happy. I look forward to it all day. I bring all my stuff and I go to a cafe and I work there pre-COVID times and I drink my $6 cup of boba. And so if what makes you happy is maybe buying a scented candle, maybe it's buying a like video game or going on a trip or buying a new outfit that makes you feel confident. Those are things that you shouldn't feel guilty about, and they can help you ultimately like give you those um, like peaks of joy and help you pace yourself so that you're balancing your like and rewarding yourself for your hard work. And the last thing that I learned was to connect with others. So a caveat is like when you're feeling burnt out, the only person that can drag you out of it and help you change up your situation is yourself. But that doesn't mean you can't go out and connect with others. So I realized that the times I reached out to my friends and I told them like, hey, I'm not feeling that well. I'm really tired. Like, all of these things are getting to me. They also shared that they were going through the same things. As you saw earlier when we did the react, like, some people shook their heads and they didn't, and they were feeling burnt out too. So you're not the only one. Don't feel isolated about it. And just reaching out and talking to other people makes you realize that we're all college students here and like we have it rough, okay? We have so many classes, we have to balance that with activities, like working towards our future goals. So don't discount yourself for that. And also, other people are reached out to that you could also possibly reach out to are your professors, or if you work, then maybe your supervisors, because professors are surrounded by students every day. They've seen them go through burnout for years, and they could probably give you some like tips and advice. And your supervisors, it's always good to communicate with them because they can help you out in whichever way they can. Like they'll try to. They won't be like, "Oh, screw you, like you got to deal with it yourself." No. They're going to try to maybe give you a little less workload. Maybe they'll try to help like rearrange your schedule and just help guide you out of that burnout phase. Okay. So we have 5 minutes. Um, and we're going to do a little activity here. And so I thought that we would have 10 minutes left, but I guess not. So if you have this piece of paper, or maybe near you, or maybe like on your phone, you try to think of things, like write down or sketch out the things that make you happy. So what do you get excited about? What's your favorite thing to do or look forward to? And what makes you feel cozy and comfortable? For me, that looks like I love boba. I like to hang out with my friends, and I love to have a night off where I take a long shower and like snuggle up in my blankets and watch some YouTube. And then when you get those things, categorize them into two categories, or three, I guess. So the first one is like things you could reasonably fit into your schedule and throughout the day. So like if you like really long showers, put a 30-minute time block for your showers. And then the other thing is to schedule things you could do maybe not every day, but maybe once a week or once a month. So that could look like taking a trip somewhere. Um, And then another category where it's just like a group of random things that doesn't fit in, but you can draw on every time you want to do like a little self-care session. So go ahead, I'll give you guys about 3 minutes to do that, and then we'll come back together and hopefully listen to what others have to say too. We have about 1 more minute. Okay. If you're still jotting things down on your list, that's completely fine. But if anyone would like to take themselves off mute and share what makes them happy or what are some self-care tips that they like to that they have tried before, um, other people can probably benefit from hearing it and either relate to it or they can add it to their list as something they want to try. And if you agree with something, you can always react in the react button.
Hi, I'm Nadine. Something that I do, especially in the winter season, I like to get a pair of fuzzy socks on and get in the blanket and get some hot cocoa. It's usually pretty inexpensive to do all that, and it's something that I do a lot, especially over winter break. I do it pretty much every single day, and it just sort of helps me relax after a long day.
That sounds really nice. I love fuzzy socks. They are the best thing ever.
I'll go. One thing I do that's like I'm able to do between COVID is like reading outside. So like a couple times a couple times a week, like in the evenings, I'll like go outside to the mall. They have a bunch of benches out there, so I just like sit away from people. But in the evening, it's like a little cooler, and it's nice to be outside. And I love reading, so.
Yeah, that's great. Like just taking yourself somewhere really nice, treating yourself to reading a book.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So one thing that me and my roommate usually do, because we work on Zoom almost all day, so we try to spend at least 45 to an hour just to walk around the campus. I mean, sometimes like we just go from our dorm to the bookstore and then just walk back. But it really helps us feel better because like at least you have fresh air. And for myself, I listen to some soft music like lo-fi, or even if some people know, which is Yanni, which is another artist that I really like to listen. And or I mean on the weekends I can just like at night like I would just like turn on my phone and play games because yeah, and that's why I mean that's how I usually do so that I can make myself feel better.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know when I was living on campus, I'd always force myself to like not do Grubhub and like walk to the student union because just that little break makes you feel a lot better. So I hope you guys took some tips away from this presentation or this session and also learned some things about yourself for what you like to do for self-care along with things from other people. So thank you, and I will meet you guys back in our main room session with Carly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.